In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
Sure is a catchy song.
Yeah, I can barely hear it today.
It seems like it's very, I don't know, just kind of almost ominous sometimes.
It seems like they're playing it in phase 4 mode, where they're trying to get it into your subconscious so you're not noticing it.
That was a Mr. Producer trick. He said, studies show that people like to hear that when they're hearing audio. And I said, okay, Mr. Producer, that's a great idea.
Thank goodness we have Mr. Producer, like we have Mr. Coffee and Mr. Radar from Spaceballs.
Yeah. Oh, I used to love that show.
So my current jelly came.
They've jammed the radar with current jelly.
Speaking of jellies and jams, there you go. I haven't tried it yet, though. I haven't unsealed it. I have to go get like some biscuits or something so I can have it. But had to order out for it. Couldn't even get it while I was gone on vacation because Google lied. I'm in my hotel room in a much bigger city, much bigger part of the state that we live in, and just punch in current jelly near me, and it directs me to the local Safeway. And I think, well, that makes sense. Of course they'd have it. We don't in the smaller town. So go out of our way to go there, go through this city construction to get down to the supermarket, go inside, get to the thing. They have boysenberry, for God's sakes. Didn't have it.
Not even in the current family.
Google just doesn't know everything. So stop relying. That's lesson number 1 for today. Stop relying on Google for so much because it lies. I don't know if it means to lie. Poor AI. Maybe it's trying its hardest, but it's just coming up short because of, I don't know, deficiencies. Maybe it drinks already. Did you ever think of, I'm wondering if AI is already taken to drugs.
I'm sure it has needs, and it's not being met by today's society at all.
No.
What country of origin was the current jelly, I might ask?
I think it's from here, but I know that the United Kingdom is big on it and stuff. I'm still reeling from that whole thing. I think I went over this last time about how some Reddit poster said nobody eats it on toast. It's just like, the hell with you. I ate it on toast for years. So, anyway, I think it's a British thing, but I think this is American current jelly, but I'm not actually sure. I didn't care. Imagine that. I just wanted some current jelly that looked like it was decent. So it's sitting in the kitchen, but it's awaiting some bread products, which I don't typically keep around.
There was a country of origin that amazed me a few weeks ago. We went to Trader Joe's, and two things that I like are this, they call it sea foam, and it's dark chocolate covering almost kind of like a honeycomb textured sweet kind of candy.
Yeah, I know that stuff.
Yeah, and so that's made in Australia, of all places. And then the licorice that we had as well, I turned it over and I said, I bet this is made in Australia as well. And sure enough, it was made in Australia. So Trader Joe's sources a lot of their products from the continent of Australia.
I will say this, and Trader Joe's can send as much of it as they want. I'm not much for shilling out, as you know, but their trail mix is fantastic. I get addicted to their trail mix. I like I think it's their Trekkin I don't know. It's the one that has the little chocolate buttons in it.
Yes.
And everybody always wants to laugh at me like, chocolate buttons, you're such an idiot. And I'm just like, what? They're little chocolate buttons. They say, quit sounding so British. You freaking, it's just like they have little chocolate buttons in it. So,
yeah.
Dried cherries, cranberries, cashews, almonds. It's delicious stuff. The one thing I will say about Trader Joe's, though, is a lot of the things they have sound better in concept than they actually are in taste, I've discovered.
Oh, yeah.
I've tried a lot of things from there. You can do a lot of impulse shopping at Trader Joe's and go, oh, wow, look at this. I mean, lime flavored, and fill in the blanks. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking, too highly. Grapefruit marmalade was one of the few things I found there that was actually good. But, they'll have stuff like, it sounds, because you've never seen it before, it sounds phenomenal. It's like macadamia nut butter and I'm sure they probably have that, but you don't see it too often, stuff like that. And so you grab it and go and get home and you're all excited, and one wipe on one smear on a cracker or whatever is just like, this just didn't live up to what I was thinking. I purchased more things from Trader Joe's that I've been disappointed in than I've liked. And so I try not to impulse shop when I go there. In fact, there are some Trader Joe's crackers in the cupboard right now that were purchased to accommodate some cheese that we purchased on a vacation at some point here in the recent, and they were terrible. Really, they weren't good crackers. And I'm just thinking, if they can't make a fucking cracker, then how am I, eating anything else from there? And they quit making their sunflower butter that was good.
Oh, really?
They had like a sweet, well, they changed it because they used
I was
to make,
a fan.
Yeah, they used to make a sweet and an unsweetened, and unsweetened is just like for those people that you see that, those women that do yoga 10 times a week and they weigh like 76 pounds. I can't eat that stuff. It's just I got to have some sweet in my stuff. I was raised sadly.
It's really good in smoothies.
It's very good just in general, but now they've decided that they combine the two. So the store I went to recently, I did not see the separation of the sweetened and the unsweetened. All I saw was the one that was combined now, which is just their sunflower butter. And it's like half-ass. It's like, okay, well, this almost kind of tastes like the sweet at first, but then it's not as sweet, and it sort of tastes like the plain, which is just too plain on the way down. So anyway, they're like that. They're like Costco, though. They get things, and then it's there for 6 months, and then it's gone. You never see it again as long as you live. So I hate that because there's no consistency there. That's like mom making something that you really like for dinner, and you're saying to her, hey, Mom, I really like that for dinner. Can we have it again? She never makes it again. I mean, that's just, the store shouldn't do that. Stores are supposed to be like, Mom, they're feeding you, for God's sake.
I think that they designed Trader Joe's as a total impulse store. So you just walk through. My wife is notorious for impulse shopping. She loves Trader Joe's. And I think every year she gets a new pumpkin X, pumpkin Y, it's, in fact, she even went to Trader Joe's once to try and score because as you know, we don't live within 200 miles of a Trader Joe's. She actually went to Trader Joe's to try and score I think it was like a tomato leaf scented candle. And then when she got there, she was totally disappointed because the tomato leaf scented candle had been recalled. And I don't know if it caused bodily harm or what exactly the reason for the recall was, but the tomato scented, leaf scented candle was not available anymore.
Maybe the FDA did us a favor and recalled it because it literally didn't smell anything like or nearly enough like a tomato leaf should. I don't know what that would smell like. I guess I kind of do. It's that fresh garden scent, but I always associate it with tomato worms because my mother grew tomatoes when I was a kid, and she had the worst problem with tomato worms because she would never use any systemics or like only on the roses. They were the only things that got systemics, but she would never use chemicals in the garden. Even then, she was very natural. And the tomato worms would just take over. And I always equate that smell, I think, that you're talking about with the tomato leaf scented candle with tomato worms. And so I don't want to smell one of those. But and I'm not sure who wants to smell a tomato leaf anyway, but maybe your wife had special plans for it, but I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, she was totally disappointed, but I know exactly what you mean when it's like one-of-a-kind items, Trader Joe's. What a lovely place.
Anything that'll send you over the edge, I'm sure they have a special wing for that. Like if you'd have gone in within weeks of the recall to a local insane asylum and taken a tour, the doctor would have said, yes, here we have all the people that are suffering from nervous breakdowns of one degree or another, finances going awry, lovers leaving them. And then down this hall, we have severe schizophrenia caused by recent elections, placement on this planet when you didn't want to be here, the really horrible tragedies of life, watching too many Reagan films. And then here we have they didn't quite have the tomato-scented candle because it was recalled wing. And everybody's hanging out.
Yeah.
Nothing will push a person over the edge faster than their tomato-scented candle being recalled. So on this same vacation, we go to the zoo. Your thoughts? Yeah. Your thoughts on the zoo? Because I'm torn with the zoo, I have to say. You know me.
I find
You're probably a straight line, but I'm torn with the zoo.
No, I am. And I find it ironic that a organization that is so pro environmental causes and donate to the saving the gorilla habitat in the Congo Foundation, and I mean they're very green at the zoo, yet
yes.
The animals are all in cages. That was my take the last time we took the kids to the zoo.
That is the grand irony that is always there and omnipresent no matter what. Now, the ducks, however, are fly-ins because the cages or the enclosures, there weren't quite cages, but the enclosures that held the flamingos. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the enclosures that held the Chilean flamingos and an assortment of other rare and exotic and unindigenous birds, avian life. As long as they were outdoor, there were ducks in them. Ducks aplenty, I might add. Mm-hmm. And so I'm talking with my girlfriend about this as we're looking at the animals, and I'm, of course, constantly within this dilemma. And, she's just looking at me and saying, well, they rescue animals. And it's like, yeah, but they don't rescue all of them. So I understand some of the animals are in a plight where they've lost a leg or an eye, and they have to go somewhere, otherwise they won't survive in the wild. And so now they're here for our amusement to stare at. But a lot of the animals, that's not their backstory. Their backstory is a little different. And so the ducks were fly-ins. So, because we kept seeing ducks in these cages, and I said, you think the ducks, they don't have the ducks on any of the signs pointing out what the animals are in the enclosures. You think, she's like, no, I think they just live here. Or just, they feed, they suckle off the zoo teat. And so they're allowed to come and go as they please, but the rest of the animals, the birds in the enclosure, have their wings clipped if they're able to fly. I don't know. I like I said, it's difficult for me because I appreciate the conservation aspect. As a human living this, game that we do, I also appreciate the ability to stand as close as I did to a bear, which was like literally several inches away from a bear behind a glass enclosure. Mm-hmm. Really nice little habitat for him too. They have this stream with these actual live fish in it, and she kept thinking about reaching in and getting one, and everybody there was waiting with quasi-bated breath to see if she was going to, make their day with their show. They could put it all on fucking social media, of course, and that's the other thing. You go to these places now and nobody's actually looking with their eyes. They're filming it through a camera. They're watching it through a lens. And I'm just thinking, we're here. Why aren't you watching this with your own eyes? But yeah, I'm always a little torn about that because I would not want to be, that's what I keep asking myself is would you want to be on the other side of the glass being on exhibit as Jack Hansen? And the answer is only on certain days. I really think that's the best answer I could give. But I think most of my days would be like, no, I don't want to be trapped. I'd like to come and go as I please and live in. It was miserable and cold and wet when we went to it. Rained, and it couldn't have been any more than 50 degrees.
It's always terrible weather when you go to the zoo. I don't know what it is about that.
Half the animals were hiding. Half of them had these signs on their cages, no exhibit today, no animals in this feature today. So it was kind of a disappointing trip, but I was almost glad in some ways because it was like God was saying, all right, you're only going to get just so much because we're basically handing you the answer, which is only half of this is okay. the other half is not right, and you know it, and you shouldn't be here, and you shouldn't be paying for it. So have you seen speaking of social media, I have seen the video of the Australian child. I think he was an Australian little child that goes to the zoo. His parents take him to the zoo, and he's this starseed baby, clearly, because they're filming him at lunch or having a snack or something, and they're like sitting there by some enclosure with some kind of animal in it. And he's going, why is he locked up? What is he doing in there? He doesn't belong in there. He should be out in the wild where he should belong. So to get him out of there. And this whole thing. And I'm thinking, wow, for 4 or 5, this kid's spot on, man. I mean, you're absolutely right. And how he learned this, I don't know. And then, of course, there's all the comments volleying back and forth between zoos are great because they do all this conservation work, and then other people know the spirit of freedom should never be justified with, imprisonment and all that sort of things. Anyway, it was interesting.
Yeah, it's speaking of beings that didn't ask or do not want to be here, animals at the zoo.
Well, I went to a real life sanctuary. It was not a zoo, but it was a sanctuary. And I lived in Florida briefly. It was down, I want to say it was north of St. Petersburg. It was kind of down in that area. There's what they call the armpit of Florida, which basically is the whole thing, if you ask me. But that curve right around Perry, which is the biggest town or city that's in that whole area, there's really not much there. A lot of it's actually wetlands, and it's just kind of the sticks. I want to say it was up that way, though. Crystal Springs is coming to mind for some reason. I'm getting tickled, so maybe if that's right, it sounds right. It's manatee country. But they had everything in their sanctuary had been rehabbed. Everything was moribund or couldn't have survived in the wild. It was imperiled. And they had a couple manatees that had been, cut up by motorboat blades and stuff enough that they required rescue, and so they have those, and they have some gators and reptiles. Even though they deserve to be free, they always kind of get a pass because they have that stolid look on their face. It never changes, and this reptilian, cold-blooded thing that we're kind of the antithesis of. So we sort of look at them and go, well, the lizard's there. It doesn't matter, but of course it does. But I remember going through that whole place, and the saddest of the ones to see were the raptors, because they had some kind of eagle. I don't think it was a bald eagle. I don't believe they have them down there, but it was a golden eagle or some other kind of eagle that had lost its eye and was unable to fly. It had gotten hit by an 18-wheeler or somebody that had drank too much Twisted Tea that night on the Florida interstate, hauling more Twisted Tea, undoubtedly, to Walmart somewhere within the vicinity, so... And they had an owl that had also lost an eye. So various injuries that basically had crippled these raptors. And the eagles and the hawks in particular, which is interesting. I found this fascinating because they are symbolically the embodiment of freedom in the animal world, to Western society at least, and really to much of the world. Birds of that nature have always been looked at as it's the picture of being this free spirit, this free soul that's allowed to fly above and, come and go like the wind in the trees and, all that shit. But that was heartbreaking because those animals, I swear they all looked at me and were just like Johnny got his gun. Kill me. Just flat out, please come in this cage right now. You're looking at me. I know you get it, dude. I know you're the one guy that gets it. Get in the cage right now and twist my fucking neck and break it. Kill me, because this is torturous, and it's sad isn't the right word. It's not what I'm looking for. It's offensive, I guess, in some ways. I'm not placing the word, but it's downtrodden, basically. Mm-hmm. It's woe. They're such, the woebegone spirit is is written all over them. They're just it's sad for them. They were just spiritless, and they hated being in that state on display for everybody to see. And it was demoralizing, I guess maybe that's the word I'm looking for. It seemed to be really demoralizing. So I know that was an interesting experience too. But Anyway, yeah, the zoo is what it is, but we did the zoo for what it's worth. But we only saw about half the animals because, like I said, most of them were hiding from the cold and wet. But, my girlfriend was thrilled. So that's all you want, right? It's just like, hey, as long as the girlfriend's happy. So
yeah,
she gets it too, though. We had this discussion many times before we went and then while we were there. But there's also sort of that zoo person, the people that they hire to work at the zoo.
Oh, yeah. They're
same
definitely
type. A lot of young people and, maybe some older, but same type of people you'll find at a museum or an art gallery. It's just right out of that same book, it seems like. Mm-hmm. I hate to stereotype, but it's really true.
They're cut from the same cloth for sure. And our lunch was like $45 too, by the way. And it was 2 black bean burgers with fries and a cup of clam chowder. So I was happy to give the zoo another $50 for that fabulous meal. It's great. Oh, man. We always go to the zoo, and then, of course, you've got to go to the gift shop, and my daughter has to pick out a stuffy, another one, because she doesn't have enough stuffies as it is. And I think at this point she could probably build a house out of stuffies. But, yeah, no, they always get you there, too. $40 stuffy, $50 stuffy.
Well, you can't really strike up conversations with people at the zoo either, I find. Because sadly, my girlfriend, it was raining and she was trying to pay for the parking, which is all done by this. Instead of just rolling up and getting a fucking ticket, or how about just free parking? Could we just, getting in was $60 by itself. And then, like I said, the lunch was almost $50. Okay, we've given the zoo $110 now for a couple of different things just to walk around for a few hours. Could we just make the parking free? But of course it wasn't. And it's this fancy QR code thing where you walk up and scan it with your phone, and then you got to put in all this information. And she's trying to do that, and her phone's getting wet, and so it's a thing. So these people who, of course, had probably prepaid or were zoo members or something got in front of us. And, again, not to be a hater, but it's not really our crowd. It was this sort of, like I'm guessing early 30-something one with a stroller and a child. And we overheard them talking about this tea set that one of them had received as a gift. And we already knew it was like, okay, these are not our folks. But you can't strike up conversations with people, it seems like. Not only people like that, but also at the zoo. Because everybody kind of wants to be pedantic at the zoo. They all want to flex what they know about the animals or what they know about their endangered status, or there's no just general chit chat, it seems like, at the zoo. And I don't know. I can't say it was a disappointing time, but it was another occasion for deep thought, which Jack Hansen is always in. So
you're always good for a good deep thought.
Well, because I really was torn about going. I knew that she'd wanted to go, but I was like, I can go pay to see these things in cages. This doesn't seem right. And I'm, a little bit sorry about it, but I don't know. At the same time, I also understand it. The penguins were delighted to see us, though, I will say that. The penguins are not one of the animals that are unhappy to be there, it seems. They were waiting. We could see when we walked over, they were just like, my God, where you been? Here we are. And then they all jumped in the water and started swimming upside down and zooming around, and they love to put on a show. So, like I said, I think it depends on the animal, maybe, even specifically, not let alone the species. But
what is your favorite animal at the zoo?
I knew you were going to ask me that. It's time to finish filling out the Tinder survey with, the detailed section that no one ever does.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to fill out the profile.
It's not going to matter because everybody's going to swipe. What is it for no? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Right?
When I was dating, there was no such thing as Tinder.
When I was dating, there was such a thing as tender, and it was what you were where you got kicked if you didn't mind yourself, because girls, they actually meant business back then. It's going to either be animals that I have no opportunity to see in any other setting.
Just one animal. I didn't say animals, just one animal.
What's I thought the world's smallest deer was a deek, but it's something else, and now I'm not remembering what it's called. Anyway, the world's smallest deer was there. It's a poodoo is the world's smallest deer. So they had a poodoo, and the poodoo came out, and it was just like, here I am, I'm the poodoo, I've been waiting for you guys, look at me, and it did its things, and so I was just like, wow. So the poodoo seemed to be happy. It seemed to be happy to be seen. It wanted to be seen. And so that made it more worth seeing, of course. It's kind of like anything. Yeah. So the poodoo and the penguins, 2P animals, nice. I would say. They were the happiest to see us.
Definitely the tigers and the lions are kind of the star of the show. I feel like when you see the lion, you're like, oh, wow, that's a lion. That's a real lion. I've seen you before on TV. It's almost kind of like seeing a celebrity in the wild. You know, you're like, oh, wow, I know who that guy is. So I think that the lions are definitely one that is kind of the star of the show. But my favorite animal would have to be the gorillas. And I don't know what it is about the gorillas, but it's also kind of sad because when you're watching them, I think the thing that I like the most about the gorillas is that they just have so much strength. And you can just tell the way they carry themselves how much strength they have. But then you also get kind of sad because you almost can see them kind of looking at you. And there's this almost human element of they've kind of figured it out.
Yeah. I like the analogy of celebrities in the wild because I feel like that's kind of a good separation for the zoo. It's like, okay, so today we decided to let our lions go free, and instead we have Jeff Goldblum for you. And he's just like, now.
Wouldn't that be great? I think we just came up with a new scheme. You could go to a place and you could just watch the celebrities.
Celebrities for lions, or celebrities for lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, or whatever you want to call it. And they take the animals out, and they get to be free, actual free for the day. They watch them, of course, because they watch us too. So what's the fucking difference? We're all surveilled anyway. So I can see that. I remember seeing an orangutan at the zoo once as well. It was right up against the glass, and it had that kill me look on its face too, because its face was all puffed out, and it was against the glass. And so, of course, the children are all ramming their fingers into it, and cameras are flashing off like, the stars, like popcorn in the microwave. And it's just looking up, just like, please end this. This is so belittling. I can't believe that I've been reduced to this. This is no way for me to live. And it was sad. So I suppose at the root level, if it gets people thinking about conservation, it gets them to appreciate that these animals exist and they're not just pages in a book or pictures on an internet screen or pop-ups when they're kids, bathtub animals, whatever. And they really draw a fascination from that and an appreciation for that, and then somehow do some things, make some choices in their life to conserve the environment so that it helps them. It really honestly helps them. Well, then that's an honest and decent justification, I guess, for the entrapment and display of a few animals. But it's hard, because, they're wanting to free Shamu now, too. That movement's underway to get the whales to stop doing tricks. And
well, yeah, they already freed Harry and Meghan. So I guess Shamu would be next on the list, right?
Harry and Meghan, aren't those royal family members?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of people on display and in exhibits.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. We want to go down that road today. We're in the mood for one of Jack Hansen's
We could
legendary
explore
diatribes.
Jack Hansen's take on the royal family.
Yeah, it's a British thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of a British thing. God save the Queen and all that. So
well, and I feel like it is the remembrance of a bygone era. I think that in the day of feudalism and in the early development of governments and governing, I think that there was probably a place for someone to be the chief, someone to be the leader, someone to decide, where the cisterns were dug and the people, for the most part in society, they probably really either didn't care or maybe didn't even have the skill set to really put those kind of projects in place. So, I can see why we had monarchies in the past. I don't know why we have them today.
Well, there's only a couple of true monarchies left in the world,
yeah.
I think Monaco actually has a true, principalistic monarchy or whatever that would be. It's some sort of limited like autocraticism that exists over there. But the British royal family, of course, it's all titular. They have no real power at all in the British government. Now, of course, they have a little bit of social influence, but they're basically like celebrities. They're kind of like their Hollywood. But at the time, that you're talking about, there absolutely was an awful lot of power. They ruled with an iron fist inside of a bejeweled glove, of course. And so that was the big deal. I don't understand, much like, I guess, the allure of so many things, though, I don't understand people's fascination with royalty, especially any royalty, but in particular the stuff that's shoved in our face by the tabloids and the trade papers and the television stations everywhere with this British thing. The thing when Queen Elizabeth died and then the royal wedding, nothing will make me rush to the emergency room with a throat full of bile faster than a royal wedding will, because it's a nightmare.
Pageantry on display.
Because I don't think people are appreciating what the mindset of royalty is and always has been. And I always put on the same voice for it, so I'll do it here as well. But, the whole point of the royal deal is, remember, it's all steeped up in money and wealth and power, first of all. I mean, we are rich and we're powerful.
They hold the purse strings.
Yeah. So, and why people are so obsessed with that, I don't know. But like we've talked about here many times, type in anybody's name that's even remotely famous on Google, and the first auto search that it wants to give you is net worth. It always has the suffix net worth on the back end of it. So what I am particularly bothered by is the fact that a lot of people who also stand up for the same winds that are blowing towards social change and social justice and want to see equality for the sexes, want to see equality for the genders, the races, they want to see equality for sexual preferences. They want to see, they're about all of these social movements, and they'll go walk in parades with, this color or that group of colors clad on everything, and they're all about that, will be the same people that will get off on a royal wedding. And it's all steeped up in the notion that our blood is better than your blood. And that drives me insane, because that's the whole point of royalty. And it always has been the base point, the cornerstone of royalty is the thought, the notion that there is an elite bloodline, that there is an elite group of people that for whatever reason are just better and therefore justifiably deserving of all of these gold and jewels and riches, while everybody else has to wade through the shit just to get an eggplant that might be edible for dinner.
Yeah.
That's a problem for me. And I don't understand why we haven't carried over this wave of social responsibility that we seem to just be tsunamied by right now into those waters. Because how many people, I forget the number of people that tuned into that fucking old lady's funeral. It was more than the Super Bowl, or it was close. It was crazy. It's like, Jesus Christ, give me a fucking break here. Why do you care about this? How could 50 million people care about this?
Yeah, and I think that the British royal family definitely has the American conscience figured out. I mean, they know what makes us tick, and I think that the royal family is a very good example of some of the things that we've discussed on this podcast regarding public thought and just the lifestyle of the rich and famous kind of idea, and someone's net worth is what is most important to someone's character. I just feel like the royal family, the monarchy, is the example of what was at one time in human history, maybe something that was created to make things tick. Very much like a phone book or a Rolodex. Do you use them today? No.
Yeah, it's it's antiquated. I'm looking up Princess Diana's birthday. I know she's a Cancer baby like me. She's July 1. I'm a little further down the line in July. And she kind of gets a pass in all of that and is looked at sort of as this black sheep. Isn't quite the right word, I guess, because she wasn't part of the family. You know, she was pulled in by Charles, and they really didn't want her because she wasn't quite as refined, or there was some, you know, she didn't pass the blood test, the quantum impacts that they were looking for. I don't know, you know, about what they're supposed to do. Maybe she didn't hold her cup when they were having Fresca the right way after fucking their 7th course at, you know, lunch somewhere. But she was hounded by the paparazzi, and were they chasing her and, you know, caused the wreck and all that. It's just, I don't know. It's the same thing to me, because if you marry into it, you're just as guilty. As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, who's more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows them, you know? And so it's kind of the same thing, I felt like, because a lot of people, when I'll give my honest assessment, not that there's any other assessment, but, you know, when I'll spew these feelings about royalty, they'll say, well, I can see why you'd say that, Jack, or why you'd feel that way about the king thing or the queen thing or the princess things, but not Diana. Diana was just, she was different. You know, it's just like, what exactly made her so different? I mean, she married into it. So isn't that kind of just the same thing? Yeah. Because you have to be hanging out with a pretty posh crowd to be getting close to Charles anyway, even if you don't quite make the A-list for who his parents want him to marry so that they can keep the blood pure, boy. And that's probably the speech that he got. The rest of us, you know, we get speeches like, tonight's prom, boy, and I want you coming home with any crabs or itchy business down there, so you cover up Mr. Slappy, all right? Those are the friggin' things we get. You know, they get, how dare you, like, even look at her. We want the blood to remain pure. You know, I mean, just
right.
So.
Well, I'm looking at the royal family tree right now, and King Charles III's closest family and line of succession. The thing that I find interesting about this family tree is the monarchy, in a way, is kind of a reflection of greater society. Out of the 1, 2, 3 royal houses that are closely associated with King Charles III, all of them have had some form of divorce. And I find that interesting, mainly because I kind of feel like the royal family is kind of a representation of the times, in that, you know, humans will do what humans will do.
Well, be that as it may, the two things that it has going that I'm, as we mentioned already, and don't have to relive, but it's the wealth and the riches and the jewels. You know, they have more. So therefore, for whatever reason, they're more interesting than I am. That's not true in any fundamental way, shape, or form. And then this blood thing, man, we got to get off of this blood thing. And I don't think anybody really recognizes that. I'm not sure. You know, so many people are just led around by, and we just say the media, but they really are just led around by whatever it seems like wants to be waved in front of our faces. And I just feel like it's time for us to take a much more scrutinizing look at the notion of royalty, because the notion of royalty from the times of the pharaohs all the way to the times of pick any royalty, that's the cornerstone of royalty, is based on the fact that we are more deserving than you because we have this fabulous blood and you don't. And that notion is ridiculous. We all share, you know, the same. We were just talking about the zoo. We were just talking about primates. Like it or not, we all share the same biological origin. We have to. It only makes sense that we would, even no matter how we got here. There used to be only a couple of us, the Adam and Eve story, and now there's 8 billion of us. So obviously this all goes back to a couple of people that started this whole thing in propagation. And so we all share those two people's blood. And to even suggest that the creator, if there is such a thing, you know, if that blood would be in some way better, well, no, because we're all about trying to, you know, right now say that in this age of artificial intelligence, that no, computers have just as much of a right to think for themselves as we do. You know, we're already, well, then so do we, based on who it was that created us, and they're not any better than We are. So if you're going after equality, these are the people that I'm most concerned with, are the people that are complete hypocrites. But what are you going to do? They're all over the place, including myself. I mean, I'm the enlightened hypocrite, just like so many, because I feel like I'm aware of a lot of these things, but I don't really do much about them because I've been westernized and I'm comfortable and I don't really want to rock my own boat. But the people that most concern me are the ones that will, again, stand up for all of these social justices. And as George Carlin once said, it's a big club and we ain't in it. And it's just the same thing all over again as far as that's concerned.
They've almost become a parody of themselves in that regard because, the reason that they are in the positions that they are of power is because of their blood, definitely. However, I do think that the institution, that is the royal family, has a platform that does today still have some level and some semblance of, I guess it would be purpose, which is that they can champion causes that may otherwise go unnoticed. And I think that Princess Diana is a good example. And some of the things that they can support by virtue of just them being who they are, and getting, other people in that want to be a part of that club involved in whether it's building schools for underprivileged children or, I think if we were to go back in time, the only thing that a monarch really did was make sure that if the barbarians came out of the woods, then they would give us a safe place to harbor our families. And in exchange for that, you paid them taxes so that they could, rule your life from the time you were born till the time you died. I mean, that's the way it was before, right? But I do think that, the British royal family, and any royal family for that matter, presidents will come and go. Elected officials will come and go. But they are kind of the only constant over decades. And I think that a lot of the remorse, or I guess, the sadness that people felt when Queen Elizabeth died was that for many people alive today, she was the only person that they knew their entire life that was a monarch. So I would put that spin on it as well.
Well, and it's fine, and really that's where I'll leave it. It's fine if you want to be Jeff Bezos, for example, and go to a couple of cocktail mixers a year, right, where we're helping children that have debilitating diseases, or, right, trying to get food to people that live in straw huts. Then I'm going to return to my billion-dollar yacht and smoke a couple of cigars that would literally feed nations in Western Africa for a year. I have a problem with that. So, see, the problem I have is with the overkill. I mean, so Princess Diana, fine. She champions all these causes. She's a public figure. She's doing her best. I salute her for that. She's returning to a world that is vastly too lavish by contrast. And so until that margin is greatly narrowed, until it's greatly aligned, and more close together, I'm going to protest that. I would not want to be that person. I mean, I was just talking about, we had a big machinist strike up in our neck of the woods here for the guys that make the airplanes that crash every so often because they don't pay them enough money to care about it enough, I guess. But they got a 43% raise. Yeah. So I was reading that this morning on the news, literally to my audience, and the little mouse cursor was actually over the 3, and you just get to be kind of automatonic when you're reading copy for news sometimes in my job. And so I literally, by accident, I said, they got a 4% raise. And then I caught myself right away and said, I'm sorry, make that 43%. And then I, said anecdotally, just kind of after the fact, you're not usually supposed to do that, but I will once in a while, especially when there's a flub in mind, because it makes me seem, a little bit more, I don't know, human. Yeah. Like I just said, the last raise I got, that was about what I got. I got about a 4% raise, and it was to take a different position, So,
and I'm sure you didn't. You weren't a part of a project where the doors were flying off in midair.
No, I was not. But what it gets me to thinking about, and the way that I'm equating it to the royalty business, is if suddenly I go from a 4% raise to a 40,000% raise, and again, you scratch off the winning lottery ticket, or even worse, in some manner of speaking, there's this flow of financial wealth that starts to come in. I mean, something happens in my world. I'm not gunning for that, but crazier things happen. What that's going to do to that philosophy, because I think it's very easy for me to sit here without many of the things that all of that money could buy and say, well, I'm opposed to it. And then as soon as you have it, how many people turn around and, as I say, shill themselves out? It's just like, well, what am I going to do? I'm rich now suddenly, and so I have to spend it. Obviously, I can't, be helping out with all these causes. That would be a waste. I, got to get myself a couple Lamborghinis or Bentleys but we do not live in a town where a Bentley should be parked at the Safeway parking lot. It's not a thing. I saw a Bentley, actually. It was parked next to me. A total hoopty Bentley. I mean, it was like the guy who wants to own the Bentley so bad that he bought like the completely just busted one for like 90 grand.
And you can barely afford the insurance, right?
Yeah. I mean, so somebody, because those are, again, I think those start at what, $600,000-$700,000 a piece and go up from there. I mean, but I just wanted to like almost go up to him and give him the Grey Poupon roll down the window, the little AOK fingers, and the petite roll down the window, the back of the 1923 Pierce Arrow, like roll down the window and say, excuse me, sir, but your Bentley looks rather busted, actually. Like, this is the most hoopty fucking Bentley I've ever seen in my life. You could have bought a couple of brand new cars that were totally reliable and good on gas mileage. And if you'd have wanted to go this EV route, you could have done that too. Instead, you're acting, and he was older than me. He had to have been in his 60s, I mean, and you're acting like the 21-year-old, the 22-year-old who whatever, that's fine.
Wall Street's had a tough year. Maybe that guy's 401k is just not what it used to be.
God, I'll tell you what, that Bentley had 401k on it, that's for sure. Maybe more.
That was his personalized license plate.
Yeah, 401k and then some, about to die. So it's terrible. It's funny. Just makes me laugh. But I know you've kind of softened on the EV thing. And it's not that I, again, have anything against EVs, going way back to that subject from episodes ago. It's just that, I feel like they're trendy, and everybody, I mean, I was cut off in traffic 17 times by Teslas, by the way, while I was on vacation. So there you go. I mean, it's the kind of people who are attracted to them aren't exactly, I don't think, environmentally conscious folks. They're trendy and they're expensive, and people want to be seen driving them. And as soon as there's something else to be seen in that's cooler, it won't matter whether you plug it into the wall or pump $85 worth of gas into it. People are going to go with that. People are just into that sort of thing. They go which way
it's an image.
Those popular winds are blowing. They don't. I feel like it's a bogus sentiment. I don't feel like they really care about the environment. All that having been said, what is the deal with this Tesla truck that I'm seeing so much of?
What is it called? The Cybertruck?
Is that what it is?
I think that's what it's called, is the Cybertruck. Yeah, it's the most ugly thing I've ever seen in my life.
It looks like Tron. I mean, it literally looks like Tron drove out of the movie and into the main streets of America. Who needs this thing? Like, why did they do that? The
same person who needs a Tesla, I guess. Yeah, a used Cyberbeast or Cybertruck is going to set you back $115,000.
Jesus.
That's a used
My girlfriend
one.
showed me a post of a Cybertruck on some social media site that she was looking at. And the guy, now when she told me this, she said he had a wrap business and he wanted to promote it. And he wanted to purchase the most unusual looking vehicle he could find to get attention so that people would notice the signage that he had on his vehicle for what she called a rap business. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, first of all, rapping isn't even music, let alone a business. I mean, and then she said, no, like you wrap cars in.
The decals.
Like that kind of thing. Okay, I didn't realize that. So
yeah, the Cybertruck always reminds me of like one of those pixelated Minecraft, like something you would probably create in Minecraft. That's what I think of when I see the Cybertruck.
But this guy in the Post said that he drove it coast to coast recently, and it survived. So it's got that on an Aston Martin, which couldn't make it like from San Diego to the fucking Arizona state line without breaking down twice. Apparently, he received more hate than he could count for driving this thing. And he was asking, like, how come I'm getting so much hate for that? And everybody was basically, this is the one thing I think that popular society's got down, at least, was basically the same thing. It was just like, if you drive that, you're a dick, okay? I mean, if you drive that, you're just a dick, okay? Like, there's no two way to put it. It's just, it doesn't matter whether it plugs into the wall and saves on gas. If you drive that, you're a dick. And I don't disagree, but I will put an asterisk next to that and say that certainly for the purposes of marketing as business, this doesn't qualify. But I'm sure that I have been labeled as a dick before for wearing some of the clothes that I wear, but I truly liked whatever it was. Like, I really liked it, and I realized, okay, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. I don't care, because this is truly the representation of the person that I feel like I want the world to know. This is the dick self that I want the world to know. And if that's their sentiments, then that's fine. I really don't, it doesn't bother me. But the truck is a little different mechanism to me because, like I said, he bought it literally to be seen. It's like the guy with the bird on his shoulder. Again, It's just like, you don't give a shit about avian, tropical life. You could care less. You're looking to score with women, and you haven't had any luck with your face or anything you say, so you're going to stick the bird on your shoulder and wander around the supermarket, and oh, look, a little bird. Yeah, that's right. It's mine. His name's Coco. You want to pet him? Why don't you come back to my apartment? You can feed him pellets and cucumbers. And yeah, bullshit. See, you're trying to score. You don't care about so it's the guy with the bird on his shoulder all over again.
I will say that the guy who shows up to the gala featuring King Charles in the Cybertruck with a parrot on his shoulder, that's the guy that I want to know.
Oh, God. No. Rolling up in the Cybertruck that's fully wrapped, right, with like some kind of, it's probably some kind of, it's like, well, we've gotten on a new cause this week, and we've wrapped the Cybertruck, as you can clearly see, as our new campaign coming out against monosodium glutamate, because good Lord knows we don't eat it. We eat the finest food on earth. We have 5-star chefs working for us around the clock, God, don't you know? So MSG, we'd never heard of it before. We thought it was a band with Robin McCauley and Michael Schenker from UFO and the Scorpions.
Meanwhile, everybody inside the party is going, oh, dear Lord, he's back again. Man. He's back with his cyber vehicle. Yeah, the guy with the bird on his shoulder, though, I think we've talked about that before, too. But that one I've never – because I like to feel like I'm pretty intuitive. I like to feel like without having any real honed psychic abilities, which I think we all do, we can easily all be like vastly superior beings to what we are now. And I don't mean by blood. I mean by just literally remembering what we are capable of and decrystallizing that pineal gland for a second and, scraping the MSG off. But all that aside, I'd like to think that I've always been fairly perceptive just in general, that I can kind of figure stuff out, even as a kid, real quick. And the first time I saw the bird on the shoulder of a guy in the store routine, it was like lightning. It was just like lightning may as well have hit the bird, and it could have gone up in a plume of colorful feathers, because it was just like, dude, really? Like, this is what it's come to. Scoring has been so difficult for you up to this point, and you just won't let it go. You will not let, just like the act of sexual intercourse, which most of the world, yes, is having, and you're not, let it go. There are other things in the world. Who really cares about it? You won't let it go. And this is what you've reduced yourself to. The live $5,000 gray parrot on your fucking shoulder in Albertsons at 2 a.m. to try and score with chicks. I'm floored. I don't really know what else to say. I almost feel like I know some girls who don't see very well. I mean, I want to set you up with them. But then again, you'd be horrible company. So, just crazy. Yeah. Unless you are truly a buccaneer
or a pirate or a corsair, you should not have a bird on your shoulder. I don't mean to limit. I know I'm Mr. like expansive and everything goes and everybody should have that's a limitation of Jack Hansen's, just in our particular paradigm of the moment. You should not have a bird on your shoulder unless you can literally qualify in some legitimate way as a buccaneer, corsair, or pirate. That's it. I don't. Have you ever seen one? I've seen a few of them.
The people who have the exotic birds on their shoulders?
Yeah, the bird on the shoulder guy. You ever seen that guy out in public?
Never.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, the first time you see it, tell me how it hits you. You're a thinking man like me. It'll be the same reaction.
My dead giveaway is always the guy who has the fill in the doodle and he's walking and everyone wants to pet the doodle. That's the guy that I'm always aware of.
Well, and again, and I love animals. Like, you couldn't meet a guy who loves animals more and is more squishy about them than me. I mean, like we've talked about, I have deep regrets about, I didn't even kill any black widow spiders this year. I had my girlfriend do it. You know, she's the one that smushed the two of them that we had in the house. I feel like I put a hit out on them. It was like, hey, honey, you got to get rid of the black widow spider over there, okay? Because she's poison. I can't have it in the house and I can't do the smashing myself. I mean, I feel bad about that. I'm not joking. It's true. And I'm the guy who says prayers for all the bugs that hit his windshield or that I run into on vacation. I really am that guy. So, know that before I say this, which is I think we're into a point where we're taking our animals too many places these days. Because that's the first thing I want to say to the guy with the bird is, so what was wrong with home? I thought birds pretty much had like a little cage with a little perch where you put them in and they could sit there while your ass went to the store to get a pack of smokes and a bottle of vodka because you know you're going to wind up whacking it again tonight by yourself, right? Why don't you leave the fucking bird at home? I don't understand why it has to go with you and be on your shoulder. I have a cat. I have a dog. You know where they are right now? They're fucking home. Because I'm not going to bring them to the store and pack them around with me because I'm not that needy when I'm out at the grocery store to do some shopping at 2 a.m.
Let me ask you something. What's wrong with home?
Yeah. Seriously. What is wrong with home? But now it's like people are taking their dogs everywhere. Dogs and it's going to get to be, and it's just, and I like dogs. That's the thing. I like dogs but I just feel like it's kind of like getting out of control. It's sort of just this, okay, the dog probably could have stayed home, or it probably could have gone somewhere else. And what I'm concerned about here, of course, is the dog's existence, the dog's psyche. Dogs love their owners, too, because they're fully domesticated, as provided they're not wild dogs when you acquire them. But so dogs love their owners. They love to go places with their owners, and so I understand that. And they'll be lonely if they stay at home. It's different than the parrot, I guess. But it's still kind of like, okay, but this is probably an occasion where you could have left the dog by itself for just a few moments while you went wherever you're going. And I worry that you're using the dog to garner attention, that it's not a legitimate dog-owner relationship, that you don't really love your fur pal like you profess to on social media so much with 85 posts a day of you eating its dog food and it eating your people food out of different, via each other's dishes. I'm worried you're using this animal to try and gain attention from humankind when you really should be getting your ass off of social media and getting out in front of people and like getting a life so that happens for you organically like it used to with a lot of people. That's all I'm saying is I'm worried about you using this animal. That's my problem. So anyway.
Maybe I should go find myself a gorilla.
Yeah, well, I know a couple of dames if you're interested. So, how much mail am I going to get for that, dames?
Can you imagine the guy showing up to the dog park with the gorilla?
In the diaper. And changing it like at one of the stations that they have in Starbucks, right? That has the little koala thing on it. You've seen those.
He pulls it down from the wall, and Bobo gets up on the...
No, Bobo. Like...
Put the barista down. Put the barista down.
Just as planned, there are 3 single women in college at the door. Oh, Bobo, he's so cute. It's like, yeah, I'll get to you later, sweetheart. Oh, yeah, using Bobo again for a little ho-ho. There you are.
I think we just came up with an idea for a sitcom.
The guy with the gorilla and the diaper.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could do the whole thing on AI.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah.
Living in a lonely world. Seems like life has passed you by.
Did I stumble into a Nordstrom's?
Yeah. And by the way, they're giving away mint hot chocolate by the white piano where this guy is playing right now. So.
Ooh. I'm going to have to go get a box of those.
Oh, right. Real Andean mint.
What are we listening to?
This is the Paul Godfrey Band. It's Wild Ones.
Well, you wild one, until we meet again in a zoo somewhere.
All right, sounds good. I think we're talking movie sequels next time, aren't we?
Ooh, that sounds good. I'll subscribe
we'll do
to
that for at least part of the time. Thanks for listening to my diatribe today, by the way.
Nothing can take the place of a love you'll never know.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own existence brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.